Hi class, this is Ryan Steinberg. It is August 15th, 2019. Today we are talking about the skeletal system. So the major components of this skeletal system, there are four main fibrous and mineralized connected tissues. Those are the bones, the ligaments, the tendons, and the joints. So bones are rigid forms of connected tissue, and they're part of the skeletal system. And it's primarily consistent of calcium. Ligaments are small bands of dense, white, fibrous, elastic tissue. These ligaments end up connecting the ends of the bones together and they form a joint. They also hold together organs. And then we have our tendons, which are tough and flexible. They're inelastic and they're bands of fibrous connective tissue that connects muscles to the bones. And then we have the joints, which hold the skeleton together and they also support movement. They can be grouped together by separate function, structure. Examples of this are the pivot joints or a ball and socket. So now we'll get into the different types of bones. So there are five major types of bones in the human skeletal system. So we have the long bone, we have the short bone, we have the flat bone, we have the irregular bone, and we have the sesamoid bone. So the long bone just simply helps facilitate any sort of movement and it supports the weight of the body. The long bones they have a long tubular shaft and they have an articular surface at each end of the bone where the ligaments and tendons attach. These bones, examples of these could be the femur or the humerus or the radius or the ulna. So then we have our short bones. And these short bones help to provide stability and movement within the ankle and also wrist joints. They're typically cuboidal in shape and they are just as long as they are wide. An example of this bone would be the carpals or the metacarpals in the wrists and the ankles. Moving on to our flat bones. So the primary purpose of the flat bone is to protect internal organs like the lungs, heart, the brain. And also has a large surface area so muscles can kind of attach to. An example would be, well, the skull, the cranium, and also maybe the pelvis. An irregular bone, these can basically vary in any sort of size and structure, and the shape's typically complex. They can have different functions depending on where they're at. An example, the vertebrae protect the spinal cord and together make up the spinal column. So then we move into the last one, which is the sesamoid bone. And the function of this one is just to protect the tendons and diminish friction and wear on joint surfaces. They're typically small and round and usually found on the hands, the feet, and the knees. An example would be the kneecap, the patella. So now we move on to the cranium and the cranial bones. So let's take a look at that. So basically I have this set up onto my computer. Let's see if you can see it. You can't really see it. Trying to figure out a way to show you this, but I'll try and do it on my head. So we have the coronal structure, the suture right here, and then we have the glabella right here and the frontal bone right here. Over here we have the parietal bone, and moving down we have the supraorbital foramen up here. We have the orbit that occurs right here, along with the optic canal. Let's see, we also have the temporal bone, which is right over here on this corner. And then we have the ethmoid bone right here, along with the nasal bone. So ethmoid, nasal. Um, let's see, what else is there? We have the mandible down here, and then we have the maxilla up here. There's also a nasal septum here and a zygomatic bone right here. Um, let's see, what else can I show you? So back here we have the occipital bone and the parietal bone. And then right here in the middle is around here is the temporal bone. Um, let's see.